Welcome back, everybody, to another great episode of Author Spotlight. If you're listening on ThriveAfterSports, thank you for tuning in there. Folks, we got a very special guest today. I'm here with my man, Thomas Williams. What's going on, Thomas?
Taj, what's up, man? Just getting through this new normal, man. This life.
Right. The new normal. That's what they're calling it. That's what I hear. Hey, I appreciate you coming on and making some time for this, man. This is a very humbling moment for me. Before we dive into the interview, I just want to introduce this man. So just so everybody knows, Thomas Williams is a former NFL player. He's a two-time national champion at USC. He's now a speaker, a two-time author, a coach. Did I leave anything out, Thomas?
No, man, that sounds good. Actually, I might need to take you on the road with me, man. You give a nice little intro, so I appreciate it.
Hey, man, you just say the word. I'll be there, man. I would be honored to. This is one of those surreal moments. If you guys have been tuning in with the podcast for a while or you've been following my work, I reached out to Thomas back in 2018, and I consider him, on the Mount Rushmore of the transition space. When I was just getting rolling, looking at who was really doing it, not just talking about it, but really putting in work, serving former athletes, current athletes, and former athletes. Immediately, you think Jonathan Orr over at ATS. Shout out to Jonathan if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Derek Furlow Jr., and then, of course, the man himself, Thomas R. Williams. So those three guys right there were guys that I was reaching out to in 2018. And to have connected with them and have them contributing and coming on the podcast and the shows I'm doing now, it's an honor. And Thomas, you showed me big love back in the day, man. And we were just talking about it the other day. Like when I reached out, I was like, one of these days, when I have a platform for you to come on and share and I can add value, we're going to do that. And you fast forward 3 years, here we are, man. So
here we are.
I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, man. It's funny because, like you said, I was able to look at the LinkedIn message the other day, and I was like, wow, anybody who's listening and they don't understand the power of words or the power of intentions, man, take this definitely into consideration because you spoke it into existence 3 years ago, and here we are, 3 years ago. And I live by a quote that I think is so profound, and a lot of young athletes, and I think even just adults, just if you got ears and a heartbeat, man, you need to take heed to this, is that people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10. And the thing about that is that you knew like, hey, I might not be where I would like to be today, but eventually one day is going to come and I'm going to be able to provide value to you. And shoot, I'll have you on my platform. And, you were dead serious, and here we are. So, man, I thank you for, continue to beat the pavement and to grind it out.
Man, appreciate that. And for anybody listening, all you current and former athletes, use me as an example, right? This is something that Thomas always talks about. This is something I talk about. If you identify people who are doing what you want to do, just reach out to them. Just let them know, hey, even just to be on their radar. You don't have to ask them for anything, but just study them, follow them, connect with them. And then next thing you know, you might be interviewing them on your podcast like me. So with that being said, let's dive in. I want to start with, you're at SC, two-time national champion. You're balling out. What was it like going from SC to the league? Like, what was that whole process like before we dive into the transition side of it?
Man, I wasn't even supposed to go to the NFL. And one of the things was I came out of high school as a highly touted recruit. I think I had 4 or 5 stars, top 50 player in the country and, top 20 player in the state. And so getting to USC was a very humbling experience because not only are you playing against some of the best players in your state, you're playing against some of the best people in the country. And so they had just come off of, I think it was like 11-2, beat Iowa in the Orange Bowl. And so they were, that's where they started the process of rebuilding. And so they were rebuilding. And throughout my 5 years there, because I redshirted, I only started like 10 games or something in 4 years. And so the transition of going from college to the NFL, to be completely honest with you, it was a lot easier than I expected just because I felt like my transition from high school to college was so difficult. And when I say that, I was a big fish in a small pond, like most high school recruits. You're the best player on your team. And so it's easy. So then when you have to get to college and they start telling you like, hey, line up on punt team. And you're like, what's punt team? I've never played a special team a day in my life. If you want to play here, you got to play special teams and you have to earn your keep. And it was just a whole bunch of stuff as far as getting integrated into their culture and into their system. And, looking back at it, being 36 years old now, half my life ago, I was there at USC, and like now you get it. Like they wanted you to earn the decals. They wanted you to earn, you know, the colors that they wore. Like I remember when we first got there, I went to my locker like the first day right before the first workout, and I went to my locker and I saw these gray shorts, this gray shirt, and these like old beat up shoes, and I thought somebody else's, like that was somebody else's clothes. And I went to the equipment manager and I said, "Hey, I think you guys got somebody's clothes in my locker." And he was looking at me like, "Well, what clothes do you have?" And I showed him. He said, "No, that's the right clothes you have." I was like, "Nah, but I don't have an SC logo on my shirt, and I don't have my number and SC link on my pants." They were like, "Oh, you're a freshman. You don't get the USC link. You got to earn it." And at first I
Wow.
was hot because I was like, wait a minute, because at the recruiting process, you guys came and showed me like love. Like I showed up to my recruiting trip, you know, they got your they got your jersey, they got your locker, they got the helmet, they got your gloves, they got the cleats. I mean, they got this thing really beautiful. And then you get there and you're like, well, wait, I thought I was just walking into what everybody else has. It's like, nah, you're not gonna get this for a while. Like if you can make it through these first couple of months, then you will have earned it. And I think that's one of the things that it taught me was delayed gratification. Just because you want it, and if you're not willing to work for it, you don't get it. And you know, now being a father, those are the same things and the values that I'm going to be able to teach my children is that, hey, I get it. You want something. That's awesome. Daddy can provide it for you. However, you have to earn it. There's a couple of things you don't have to earn. You're not going to have to earn your bed. You're not going to have to earn your food. You're not going to have to earn my love. But there's some things in life that you want, man, you're going to have to earn. And I think those valuable lessons just play over into life and definitely helped in sports.
Man, you sound like my dad, Thomas. You're gonna have to the bed is a given. Everything else you're gonna have to work for. Man, you give me
I like
flashbacks
that.
right now,
I
man.
like that. I like that.
Oh man, that's
I know I
awesome.
didn't answer your question, man. You talked about the league, but man, I just felt, you know, because the league for me, I played 5 years in the league, and the league really didn't teach me anything. And so I think being able to add the most amount of value to the listeners is talking about that college experience, because the only thing the league did was it paid me, you know, 6+ figures. But it
Right.
didn't really teach me anything else. And so people ask, like, what was the NFL like? I tell them it was everything you thought and less. By less, meaning like I lost 5 games in college. 4 years, 5 years, I lost 5 games. And in my first season, I went 5-11 in the league. So
Wow.
like it was great, but it just didn't live up to the expectation just because of the friendships, the brotherhoods, the commitments, and what we were able to establish in college.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that up front, just bringing value, like you said, the lessons that you learned. And then eventually you did earn the decals, and then you made it to the first team you were playing at was Jacksonville, correct?
Yeah.
And then once you played with Jacksonville, that's when you had the neck injury
Had the
at the
neck
time.
injury in 2011 with the Carolina Panthers. It was October 30th,
Okay.
2011. And so I hurt my neck then. And unfortunately, I went on IR. But I mean, as we talk about, man, there's so much value in the uncomfortable situations. And now here's where you have to understand the difference between what's happening to you and what's happening for you. And so I was a young 27-year-old and I thought it was happening to me. And I was like, man, I worked my whole life to get here. And now all of a sudden I'm finally starting and I'm playing and I'm getting reps. I'm on a contract year. So next year I could re-up, get a couple of dollars in my pocket, you know, give mom some money, et cetera, et cetera. But I stopped playing that day. I went on injured reserve for the next 7 weeks. And inside that time, Taj, it was just like when I was in college and I got hurt. My linebacker coach, Ken Norton Jr. at the time told me, he said, Thomas, now you're exposed to what life's going to be like when you're not playing football.
Mm.
And that was one of the biggest eye-opening lessons, because in college, I got internships at that time. And in college, I was starting to network. I was starting to reach out to people saying, whoa, this thing isn't promised. This isn't guaranteed. Like, I'm hurt. I'm not playing. The game, your game stops, but the game goes on for other people. You watch your teammates who are still playing in next week's game and going to practice and et cetera, et cetera. So that was a great lesson that I learned in college. So I applied the same thing when I was in the NFL. And so right then and there, I said, man, how can I use my sphere of influence right now for these next 7 weeks in Charlotte, North Carolina? And I just started speaking. So I just reached out to local like organizations. Like I talked to like youth groups. I talked to Rotaries. I talked to even like a women's shelter, a domestic violence organization, like all of these different initiatives that were, you know, important to me. And so when I did that, I just started going to their different venues and I was speaking. And I'm doing this for free. Like, so you know, I'd go to the Carolina Panthers stadium from like 7 a.m. till 10, do my rehab, watch some film, and then I'm out on the road. So I'm speaking like every other day. Like I'm, you know, traveling. Hey, I'm showing up, Thomas, this. And so what I learned in that process is that one, the game's going to move on without me and I'm going to have to be prepared for the transition. Two, I also understood that even though I don't need to get paid right now, I'm getting reps at something that I would like to get paid for later. And that was a huge lesson for me because I sucked. I'll be honest with you. When I went and started speaking, like I didn't understand how to like put together and structure speeches. I thought they just always wanted to hear about winning a championship, losing a game, an injury, but I didn't know how to tie the correlations between football, life, sports, being a kid, being an adult, like injuries and everything like this. And like, I couldn't put together my process. So that's what they call cutting your teeth. And so in 2011, I just started cutting my teeth. And then fast forward to 2012, when I tried to come back with Tampa Bay, the same thing to my neck, first day of practice. And that's when I heard God's whisper of like, you're finished. You know, there's two things that I've always been curious about. When do you know that she's the one? And when do you know it's time to retire? And God came to me both times, told me that my fiance, that girl who I was dating was my fiance, and she'll eventually become my wife. We're planning that right now. And in 2012, that summer day in Tampa, God whispered into my ear, you're finished. And ever since then, man, my hair has been lit on fire. My passion has been burning inside of me of, if you have 2 ears and a heartbeat, I want to speak to you right before you get ready to do something you don't even believe you can do. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because I had a high school coach by the name of Ed Santapadre who dragged me literally from my house playing video games onto the football field and said, you're going to play football. And I thought I was going to be a baseball player in high school and in college and in, you know, Major League Baseball. I wish I would have done it because that money's guaranteed, but that's a story for another day. But he said, you're going to play football, because he saw inside of me that like, hey, this kid needs community. He needs a team. He also needs discipline, commitment, everything else that football teaches you. So he dragged me on the football field. And I said, I'm always going to pay what you put into me, I'm going to put into others. The same thing my coach in college, Ken Norton Jr., what you put into me, I'm going to put into the others. And they both told me the same thing, that you'll never be able to repay me. I don't care if you become a billionaire. The only way you can pay me back is if you pay it forward. And so From then, man, 2012, I've been like just speaking as many places as I possibly can to affect and touch as many people as possible. Because as you know, when you go into these rooms, or if you're on a podcast, you always identify, you see yourself there, depending on the demographics. You see a family member, you see a parent, you see a teacher, like you see somebody who you're like, oh, that's my mom right there. Wow. Okay. I'm talking to my father. I'm talking to my coach. I'm talking to my sibling. So for me, man, that's pretty much what I do and why I do it.
Wow, that's major. One of the things that I wanted to point out was, I think it's amazing how you were able to immediately shift into, this is happening for me and not to me. Because I think it's one thing, you know, a lot of us have heard that before, but when you're in the middle of it and you're injured and you can't play, for you to be able to make that shift so quickly, I think that's huge, to not allow yourself to become a victim. And one of the questions I have about that is, you immediately put it into action. Okay, this is happening for me, not to me. I'm not a victim. I'm going to start getting into action. I'm going to get busy. I'm going to start preparing. And you immediately started speaking. And I'm curious to know, I think the listeners would appreciate hearing how you knew that you wanted to speak. Because there's a million things you could have done in that time, especially with the brand recognition of being in the NFL and all that. But how did you know that speaking was for you?
First and foremost, I get bored. So I used to get suspended. I got suspended probably, I swear, it was every other week in elementary school. I just had a lot of issues, identity issues, like abandonment issues. Like I tell people all the time, and I used to talk in class. So when I would speak in class, I would get kicked out of class, and now I get paid to go back and speak. So it's like, how do I get paid now? I tell my mom all the time, like, you grounded me, but I'm getting paid for it now. I was just interning back then.
Right.
But I would get grounded, Taj, all the time, man. And inside of my room, like I would just literally envision like what it was going to be like when I got outside of being grounded. Like, so I'd hear my friends playing basketball. So I would be shooting, like in the door would be closed, no TV, no nothing. And so I'd be dribbling and I'd be shooting. And if I hear them playing football, I'd do the same thing. Like it was like I was always playing. And I think because I got grounded so much, being home, being a homebody, being like stagnant and not having anything to look forward to, like mortifies me. It
Mm,
really does. And so at that time, I was in Charlotte by myself. And so I said, what is it that I can do right now? I can't go play football anymore. So it's not like I can, stop playing football here and go out and play a pickup football game, go play pickup basketball, or anything like that. And I said, what am I good at? And I said, I'm really good at like impacting people. Like my effect on people, like God has given me that gift. I'm 100% positive. Like I know it. My ability to affect people is 100% my secret superpower. And so I said, as a middle linebacker, I love to hear information from the defensive coordinator and speak to 10 other people in a huddle. All right. So how can I do that in life? And so I just started seeing people who were, motivational speakers and talking at different galas and different events and different organizations. And to be honest with you, kids always want to, I mean, you go out and you talk to some kids, they're like, wow, you play football? Oh man, they're going to listen to you talk. So I
right.
just said, man, they want to listen to me talk. I want to speak. That's a great match and a great marriage. So let's do it. And so the thing with that, I would say is that for me, I knew what I like to do. There's a lot of athletes who just think like sports is sports, but there's a different part, right? So like you played sports, right? You had a different motivation. There was a different inspiration inside of you. Like if I were to ask you, what did sports mean to you?
Man, it made me who I am. I mean, that's a question. I'm built in the culture of football, so I go through life like a football player now. I'm preparing,
Hmm.
watching game film. Ready for this interview, preparing like it's a game. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
right. So it's like your foundation. And so there's so many things inside of your foundation from your sports days that carry over till now. And so what the things that you're able to do now comes from that. And so when we can study ourselves, right? So that's why this big buzzword of self-awareness. And it's like self-scout. We call that self-scout. Like the season just ended. Like, I'm gonna watch all my games, from last year, these 16 games, 12 games, whatever it is, and I'm gonna see how I can get better. And so the thing for me is that I always understood like my value as a middle linebacker. My value as a middle linebacker wasn't I was fastest. My value as a middle linebacker, to be honest with you, wasn't even I was like the smartest or the toughest. My value as a middle linebacker was I knew what 10 other people were doing. I could communicate the information from the defensive coordinator to them and back to the defensive coordinator from the 10 guys who were in the huddle. So I knew that about myself. And so that's the same thing I do when I go speak, right? There's a point of contact who says, hey, can you come speak to my organization or group about this? This is how we want them to feel. This is what we want them to do. And this is how we want them to respond. I go, great. Got it. Good. These are the stories. These are the principles. This is the emotion. This is the energy I need to bring. Got it. So people say all the time, like, how does it feel to not play football? I say, I never stopped playing football. I just don't tackle people anymore.
man, that's a bar right there. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that. You
man.
never stop. Still a baller,
Man,
balling in life,
all day,
man.
man. We were up this morning. Me and my boys who I play ball with, man. We had a boxing session this morning, and we can't move like we used to, but it's still the mind. It's still the mind. That's all it is. Just waking up and grinding it out together, man. You
Right.
go through that grind with your boys.
That's really powerful, man. I love that you still kept the community intact too. Like you said, you're doing it with your boys because obviously that's one of the main things that's missing when we're done playing is having that community aspect. We could do a whole separate episode on that. I wanted to ask you about the books. You are a two-time author, like we talked about at the beginning. When you decided, when God whispered in your ear and told you it was time to hang it up, you immediately dove into the speaking. How did the books come about? Did you say I want to add on top of the speaking, or how did the books come about?
Man, I'm shaking my head right now. Heck no. Gosh, I don't know about you, man, but I hated, matter of fact, I barely wrote any of my papers in college, and I'm just going to be completely transparent. I barely wrote them, right? Like you have assistants, you have help, but I barely wrote them. And so for me to write for me not even write a book, to write a book freaked me the heck out. Like it
Mm.
freaked me out. Like I don't even read. What you mean write? And so when I got done playing, people started asking me, like they ask everybody who they've known who've been an athlete for so long, what are you going to get into now? And I was just starting to grasp the idea of being a speaker, being a facilitator or trainer. And so I saw three people the same week: person at the Santa Monica stairs, somebody at a coffee shop, and a guy at a barbecue who I didn't know. The other two who I knew, the person at the barbecue I didn't know. And so I was telling the same story of like, yeah, I'm a speaker. Every single one of them said, "What's the name of your book?" And I just shook my
Mm.
head like, "There's no name of my book, man. I'm not right. I don't read. I don't write papers. I barely write my name." So I just, again, the spiritual side of me, man, the power of threes and understanding that that's what God was telling me. And so I started to quest on a journey. I got a storyteller, an editor, connected with them. And it was like a 14-month process to write Permission to Dream. And the reason why we decided to write Permission to Dream, and this is, as you know, like, you have this idea inside your brain of what you want to do, but life has a completely different idea of what you're going to do. And so you got to be, flowing and flexible. And it really, you got to be like you are in the ocean. You just got to surrender. And so I thought I was going to write like a business book. Like, I'm like, yeah, oh, Tony Robbins. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And I was talking to the editor, I was talking to the storyteller, and they were like, "Oh no, you're going to write a children's book." And I was like, "Man, what you mean I'm going to write a children's book? I don't want to write no children's book. There's no money in children's books. Kids don't have money." So they said, "Yeah, this is a children's book." And so I talked to my dad at the time and I said, "Dad, they want me to write a children's book." He said, "That's smart." He said, "Children become adults." He said, "You can impact somebody's life at the age of 8 and they're going to still be indebted to you till they're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old." I was like,
Mm.
"Oh my gosh, you onto something." He said, "Now, if you only write a book for adults, it's got a lifespan. But if you write a book for kids, they'll remember you forever." And there's a lot of parents who have children and they have businesses. So if you affect their lives, the kids' lives, then they'll ask, for you to do the same thing, and they'll try to, repay you back forever. So yeah, I just wrote Permission to Dream, man. And it's just a book really for kids to identify their purpose. How can you identify your purpose? How can you identify what you want to do? But also, what are the obstacles that I should expect as I'm on my way to accomplishing these things? What should I really expect? And then 2 years later, man, wrote Relentless Pursuit of Greatness, because like you and I talk about is, what's the playbook? We have a syllabus for class. We have playbook for our plays on the field, or, whatever sport you play. We also have a book for the weight room. There's a you're going to do this many reps, this many times with this much weight. But what about for life? What about for the rest
Right.
of your life? You know what I mean? Nobody's telling us how to do that. So I wrote Relentless Pursuit of Greatness for a playbook for the athletes who are playing. How do you prepare for the life that you will have as you continue to train for the life that you hope you have? And what I mean when I say that is that you will be a human being much longer than you are an athlete.
Right.
Like, but we always think about the 1% that go play professional sports, but we neglect the 100% of us that will retire. Like, doesn't matter if you get a gold
Mm.
jacket because you're in the Hall of Fame. Doesn't matter if you stop playing after middle school basketball because you just lost the love for it. Every single one of us got something in common. We used to play, now we don't.
Right. Do you think that, because I love what you said about we neglect the 100% of us that will retire. Do you think that, because a lot of athletes feel like if you have a plan B, it distracts from plan A, but it's really not a plan B because, like you said, 100 of us will retire. Do you think it's difficult to, while you're in your sport, difficult to completely be able to visualize what you're going to be doing after or map it out? Because I hear both sides of the argument where you almost have to be done playing to get your feet wet to learn things and try things. But I see people, especially nowadays, that Life After Sports is really in the in the discussion. People are doing a great job of preparing and being completely set up by the time they retire, either collegiately or professionally. How do you feel about the whole plan A, plan B conversation?
I say, so I teach the and statement. Okay, I'm a football player and I'm a
Mm.
basketball player and, right? If that's all you're doing and you came to school and you came to college and this is all I'm going to do, then that's all you'll ever be. And um, to really understand the statement that you just made, like, you have to be comfortable with knowing that this thing is going to end. And so I always, like, I applaud people who can do both. But I think that we do a terrible job as a society. By society, meaning like our coaches, our resources, our development centers, our academic advisors, athletic directors, that we expect greatness in our sport, but we allow mediocrity in life. And so that's learned. That's learned. Like, you in high school, you let me pass this class because you said I shouldn't be held to the same standards as the other students because I play a sport. That carries on to college. Don't have them take this hard class. He or she is not going to be able to get up at this time, so they shouldn't take an early morning class. They're going to be too tired to go to there's so many excuses that we make, but we don't make excuses for when you got double teamed on the field, when you got double teamed on the court, when that pitcher is throwing gas, a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and it has a curveball that's a 12-6 drop and is, a top 10 prospect in next year Major League Draft. We don't make excuses there. And so it's our job as the people who, like yourself, the mentors, the advisors, the trustees, the board committees, like all of these people have to make sure, like, no. Greatness is a lifestyle. Has nothing to do with the jersey. Like, you do not tell me that you're going to expect me to split a double team, jump over the running back, and then make a sack in one of the biggest games, 100,000 people in the stands, millions of people watching. But like, hey, over here in life, like, nah, don't worry about an internship. Nah, don't network. Nah, don't worry about anything else. Just play your sport. It's like I remember the first time I went to Africa in 2010 to watch the World Cup. And so we went on a safari as a part of one of our activities. And I asked they got I don't know what they're called, the people who take you out on these safaris, like the guides or something. And so I asked them, I said, what's the difference between this lion and the lion in the zoo? And the answer was so profound, Taj, it makes so much sense. They said the lions out here hunt for themselves. The lions in the zoo have somebody who hunts for them. So if you take that lion in a zoo and you put them outside and you say, go feed, go eat, go hunt, they don't know what you're talking about because you've been feeding them so long. The same thing we do for our athletes is that we hunt for them. But then that last scholarship check didn't come. Their eligibility is over and they're no longer a current student athlete. But we're telling that lion, get out the zoo, go hunt for yourself. Well, wait a minute, you've been hunting for me for these last 4 or 5 years. So I know that was a long-winded question, man. I think it's just one of those things that you have to accept the same, you have to keep yourself the same accountability all across the board. Because if you don't, remember, you're going to school with people who are going to school for school. They're not going to school they're going to school to get a job. So yeah, you might be ahead. They never got picked first in recess in elementary school. You did. That's cool. But when you come to college, they're going to school for what they want to do for the next 40, 50, 60 years of their life. So you're competing with them. That's why they do say you're a student athlete. And it's like, well, which one am I more of? And it's like, you're both. You are both. Mm-hmm. And if you think you're one versus the other, then you're sadly mistaken. And it's going to be a very difficult transition once you walk across that stage and you transition.
Whew. There's some value bomb. There's some gems being dropped on this episode, Thomas, man. Thank you, man. That's so important for people to hear because, like you said, a lot of times we want to blame the coaches or we want to blame. I know I sure did. I was bitter when I graduated. No one prepared me, and they just care about the incoming freshmen. But at the end of the day, where was my role in making sure that I was doing the things I needed to do to put myself in position? I remember I was having a conversation with the girl I was dating at the time, and I was asking her to do something for me, help me out with a resume so I could try to get some internships. Mind you, I was 2 months away from graduating, so probably should have been working on that a little earlier. But long story short, she was like, I don't think you realize how spoiled you are. You got your books are waiting for you. People are helping you write your papers and all that type of stuff. And I remember getting mad at her. What are you talking about? You know how hard I have to work? I'm not entitled. And then I got out there trying to find a job for months after graduation. And man, she was right, And so I love that you called for the athletes to take some accountability. And because, like you said, no one else is really going to be thinking about that. Their job is to win games. Their job is to make sure you stay eligible. So you got to use the system just as much as the system's using you. And you did a great job of laying that out. And I really appreciate you going there. We're going to have you back. I know we're having you on the panel. We'll talk about it at the end.
Yeah.
There's too much ground for us to cover in this one episode. We're going to have you back on the show. because I want to dive into, you were already doing the speaking, already a 2-time author, and now you are a professor at USC. Like,
Yeah, man,
can we
adjunct.
please, yes, adjunct professor. Can we please just dive into that? Like, how did that come about, and what kind of work are you doing over there?
Man, it's so I'm an adjunct professor at USC where I help the freshman football players transition into college. So we call it PhD 165, which is basically a student athlete success development. And so as I think the times have evolved, athletics has started to see, like, we transition the student athletes into collegiate sports, but we don't transition these student athletes into the college experience. And so when we need to help them transition into the college, it's like there's an acclimation period, right? Like, and I know in football, and I don't know if in other sports how they do it, but I know in football, like, you can't wear full pads. Like, you don't just go the first day of camp full pads, right? Like, your first day of camp, you might go, cleats. And the second day, you might go helmets. The third day, you might go shoulder pads and helmets. The fourth day, you might go full pads, right? And so you kind of slowly but surely build your way into it. And so universities across the country have seen, like, hey, we need to these athletes need more help, in life than they just need in football. And so it came about in 2014, I want to say, maybe 15. Um, Shout out to my guy Magdi, who used to be at SC. Now he's at the University of Georgia. Who I want to say he's like the associate AD down there, but just phenomenal. He was my academic director when I first got to college. And then when I got done playing, I would always go back to USC and saying, hey, if I could just talk to the guys, let me know. Like, I just want to give them some game. Hey, save your money. Hey, watch out for people who are trying to use you. Don't invest in every opportunity, just whatever it was. And so one time he said, hey, Thomas, we have a student athlete program in the summertime. We have 30 sessions where it's personal development, all different themes and topics. We had 5 people back out. So do you want those 5 sessions? And the football mentality is like, coach, whatever I got to do. And so I said, absolutely. He was like, cool, you take 5 sessions. And I had no clue. I had no clue what I was going to talk about for 5 sessions. I'm like, yo, I just wanted 15 minutes, but you giving me 90-minute sessions, bro. 90.
Wow.
Like, and this is out the gate. And so I just started to interview. I started to ask some of the academic advisors. I started to Google and research a whole bunch of things. And I found out that the transition period, if you can think about it from the time you're a freshman throughout your time you're a senior, of these 5 things, you're going to be you're going to be what coach used to call performance alignment, which means that you put yourself in a situation or in a position to be successful in the next play. And it was identity, transferable skills, social media etiquette, networking, and campus resources. And so if you can study these 5 things and you can understand these 5 things, that when you get done playing football or whatever your sport is, then you're going to be successful. And so I did my 5 classes. I think I came back in the next year, I did 6, and they kind of gave me a little bit more responsibility. And for the last 3.5 years, so we're on semesters. So the last 3.5 years, man, I've been over there. Me and Howard Kroom, man, we're the late night warriors. So we got class at 7 p.m., man. And I tell you, it's a lot of fun. It's been challenging because of the whole Zoom thing and getting, the virtual learning down. But I tell you, one of the things that all of the student athletes respect is just keeping it real. Like, because what I'm saying isn't going to help me. Like,
Right.
I don't get, like, it's not like I'm getting paid more or less if you pass. I'm not getting paid more or less if you win. I'm not getting, like, this is game. And it's just like the OG big brother mentor game.
Right. Yeah, I think that's huge. I think it is a testament that there's even a student athlete success development class going on, that there is progress in that area, like you said, not just preparing them for on the field, but being in college in general. And there's nobody better to be doing that than you. And I know you have a partner in crime over there too,
Yeah.
but I think it's awesome, man. And it's obvious that you're great for that role because, like you said, they can relate to you. You're giving them the game. You're coming from a heart-centered place. It's not just all about you. I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
And
man.
I remember the last conversation we had, because I know you said there's the 5 different pillars that you're covering. And one of the things that you talked about that I thought was really great that you're teaching these athletes how to do is the outreach. Can you just talk a little bit about that for a second? I thought that was really great especially for current athletes who may be tuning in to hear that part of it.
Yeah. So again, another one of those life lessons, again, happened to me, or happened for me, not to me, is when I got hurt, my coach connected me with a guy by the name of Kirk Reynolds, who was working with the San Francisco 49ers. And I was hurt and I was going to be out like 6 weeks. And so he wanted to keep me busy. He wanted to keep my mind occupied. And so he said, reach out to Kirk and just start talking to him about like some options when you get done playing. And this was probably halfway through my career. And he said, I talked to Kirk. Kirk's like, what do you want to do? I was like, man, I always see these Nike reps who are flying in from, the Northwest, from Cali, from, the East Coast, South, and they're bringing us gloves, they're bringing us cleats, they're bringing us shirts, they're bringing us hats, they're bringing us, sweatshirts. I think that would be really dope to be like a Nike sports rep. Like, man, you get the company card, right? You always got free Nike gear. Like you get paid, like, let's go. And so he said, cool, I'm gonna hook you up with Rodney Knox. And so Rodney Knox, who I don't know if he works there anymore, but he connected me with Rodney Knox. I had like 2 conversations with Rodney Knox, who was like a senior VP. And I sent a couple of emails. We talked. He said, man, when you're done playing, like you're going to have a bright future, whether it's here at Nike or whether it's anywhere else. And what I learned, Taj, is that during that time, I put myself on a calendar and I said, every 2 to 3 months, I'm going to reach out to Rodney Knox and I'm just going to say hi. I don't need anything. I just want to say hi. I'm going to invite him to some games. Hey, if you're in town, you want some tickets to some home games, I'm going to kick one of my family members out. Y'all get your own tickets. Rodney Knox is coming to the game, right? And he never took me up on that offer, and he never he never came to a game. But what he did teach me is that I have a brand behind me. I have USC. I'm busy. I'm a busy student athlete, right? And he was able to understand that, and he validated that. And so what he said was, "Man, I appreciate your effort while you're playing, while you're going to school to reach out to me. I'm going to take the time to respond to your emails." And I kid you not, I still have three of his emails that I always show my class when I talk about this, that I'm not lying, I'm not blowing smoke, I'm not, hypothetical. Like this is real. He took, I think, in the 3 emails that I sent, the longest time period was like 2 days that he waited, like before he responded to me. And so what he did was he showed me that, hey man, when you have a brand behind you, when you're doing something currently, you don't need to sit there and wait till you're not doing something. People are going to talk to you because you don't need anything. They always say the best time to look for a job is when you don't need one, because
Right.
then you have leverage, then you have swagger. Like you're not desperate, you're not just like, man, I'll do anything. It's just like, I'm cool, I'm relaxed, I'm chilling, I'm not pressing you for anything because I don't need anything. But one of these days, Rodney, I'm gonna call you up because I might need a job. And so the thing about that is that I always get my student athletes, it's a test. Hey man, this week reach out to 2 people, email 2 people. Like you don't have to, I'm you, what are we supposed to say? Just say hi, how you doing? Hey man, I just want to introduce myself, this is my name. I also wanted to just see how you and your family are doing during this time of a pandemic. That's it. You're asking, you're giving. I think Gary Vaynerchuk wrote the book. It's like jab, jab, right, jab, right,
Right.
or something. It's like
Uh-huh.
give, take, or basically like give. Like don't show up, ask. Don't show up, ask. Because then one of these times it's like, man, you've talked to me 10 times, and 1 out of 10 times you ask for something. That's a great ratio, right? So that's what I teach, man. And I teach all the time. Just make it a game. How many people can you connect with? Hey, I was just thinking of you. That's it. I was just thinking of you. Want to check in on you and your family. And another thing is that you understand how to do that with people who are in your building. I learned it with the video guys. I'd always show up to the video guys' office, knock on their door. Hey, Eric, what's up? Hey, Joe, what's up? Hey, Rich, what's up? How you guys doing, man? You guys need anything? How's the family? Da da da. And those guys always got me my film first. They got me my film like Monday. Hey, it was literally waiting on my locker. Like sometimes it would take people a lot of time, or like I could get it in 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, I'll burn it real quick, man. I'll be ready in 15 minutes. And I asked one of the dudes one time, I said, why do you always get me my stuff like pronto? He's like, because you never asked for nothing. I was like,
Mm.
but I do. He was like, yeah, but you don't. Like you come in to say what's up. There's so many people who are around us who come in just when they need something. Like I'm just coming in, like only time I'm knocking on their door is when I need something. I'm not coming just to say what's up. He was like, but you come say what's up. So you need me to burn the CD in 15 minutes? I got you. It's nothing. So
Right.
it's just the understanding of the people, man, because one of the things that we're losing right now is the ability to relate and connect with people. And I think being a human is always wins. no matter how many AIs and the different technologies and the different apps and, you know, the computers, and man, being a human always wins. And so anytime you can relate, and that you can also, you know, let people know like you empathize and you're compassionate with them, you win.
Man, being a human always wins. That might be the title of this episode,
Let's go.
Thomas.
Let's
That's
go.
some fire right there, man. So a couple of things about everything you just shared. Obviously, we could be here another hour with all that.
Word.
But I love the fact that you're teaching these young guys to do the outreach, like you said, while they still have the brand behind them, number one, and then also not to ask for anything, right? And this also applies, you know, I work with a lot of athletes who have already graduated or, you know, maybe had a short professional career, whatever that looks like. And the same philosophy applies even after you're already done playing, because just because you're not playing anymore, you don't have the brand behind you, you can still do what Thomas is talking about. For anyone who's listening, you can still do the outreach to people. You still don't have to ask for anything. You know, I think, and a prime example of that is, you know, when I was reaching out to you and Jonathan Orr and Derek Furlow a few years ago, like I was just saying, hey, I love and respect what you do. You know, I'm looking to follow in your footsteps. Just wanted to connect. That's it. Didn't ask you for anything. And as time goes by, just staying consistent, doing my work, following you guys' footsteps. And eventually now we're on here having a conversation. And you guys have added so much, you've added so much value to me over the years. So that was just really strong advice that you shared. And I appreciate all that, because it applies not just to the current athletes, but to the former athletes and to people in general, especially when you start talking about just be a human. You don't have to ask for anything. Just build a relationship with somebody, and everything kind of takes care of itself from there, especially if you are running in the same direction and you guys are on the same mission. It's only natural. So
And I also want to add something too in real time, like, you know, really being able to put some flesh on some stuff. So I got connected with a mutual contact recently, and he's in the public speaking, personal development space. And like he came on too strong from the beginning that it turned me off, in a sense of like, because we can fake it. Like, hey, Taj, whatever I can do, man, let me know whatever I can do, whatever I can do. And it's like, hey, Taj, can I come on your podcast to promote my book? Like whatever I can do, whatever I can do. Hey, can I come, you know, talk to your clients about, you know, they need to buy my services and whatever I can do, whatever I can do. Like you can feel that, like you're just, as they call it, thirsty. Like, don't be thirsty. Like let the person on the other end give you the opportunities, right? Let the person on the other end like throw you a bone, as they say. And so he was just so adamant of like, hey man, you know, let me come teach your class. Like if I can add value to teaching your class, I'm like, bro, I don't even know you. One, like, so pump your brakes. Like, let me reach out to you. Second one was like, hey man, I noticed that you know such and such. Can you connect me with them? I'm like, again, two, I don't know you. There's been, and I haven't even responded to anything you've thrown out to me, because you're asking for something in a way that you feel, because if I was an idiot and I wasn't smart intellectually, that I don't see what you're doing. I see exactly what you're doing. You're trying to come off as like, can I give? But you're asking, can I take? And anytime you come off with a, I don't want to say it's malicious, but an ill will, like just be transparent. And anytime you come off fake, man, human beings aren't stupid. My daughter's 7 months old. She's not stupid. When I try to sit there and feed her like the nasty veggies, like after I just fed her the dessert, like she gets it. She's like, I smell it, bro. Like don't play me. I don't do carrots, but you can keep feeding me all them sweet potatoes though. Run that. Like that's how she is. And so human beings are the same way. So really be intentional, but also being authentic, right? So what I was saying with that guy is like, there's no way, bro. There's no way that I'm ever going to introduce you to anybody who I know, because the vibe you're giving me is on some like push all the way back. I need to like red flag, hit the stop button, and now I need to do a whole bunch of due diligence, which I don't have time to do, which means I'm probably going to throw you in the no category. Matter of fact, I might sit there and never answer your phone call again. So again, the difference of, well, I'm going to fake it and I'm going to pretend like, no. Don't pretend to be authentic. Don't pretend to be genuine. Don't pretend to be all of these things because you think that's what somebody else wants to hear. Look, we all know real when we see it. Like we all know real. So just keep it 100,000, as they say. Be real, and then other people will pick up on that as well. Just like you didn't ask me for nothing. You weren't pretending anything. You were just like, hey man, I just want to connect. Like respect, shout out, awesome man. I'll see you around. There was nothing, and then I came back around to you. Like, hey man, I heard you got a podcast, man, would love it. If you're looking for any guests, man, let me know. And you're like, okay, let's go. So it was never anything like that was hidden agenda. It was straight up all the way 100. So I respect you for that too, man.
Man, thank you, Thomas. Appreciate that. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it from Thomas. Don't be thirsty in your dating life, in business. Don't be thirsty anywhere. It's not going to work out for you. People can smell it all over you. I want to be respectful of your time, Thomas. I just want to ask you one final question because you're already doing so much great work. Like I told you, I've been looking up and admiring the work you've been doing for over 3 years now at this point. What is next for Thomas Williams? What do you have on the horizon? What can people expect? What's your next big mountaintop that you're pursuing right now?
Man, I have new goals, right? So 2020 happens, and my new goal is every single day that I want my fiance, my partner, my best friend to look at me and go, "That's my man." Like, be so proud. And I want my daughter to look at me every single day and say, "That's my hero." And so, what's
Wow.
next, man, is like I say, being authentic, like being my word. Like I'm as giving or as impactful to the world, I need to double up at home. And so I want the people who are closest to me and spend the most amount of time with me to say, you guys are getting the watered down version. Like, so if the world thinks that I'm doing anything impactful or, that's moving the needle, just know that the people at home are the most important. So the opinion, if my fiance is like, bruh, you rub my back, you didn't kiss me before you went to sleep, you didn't make me no breakfast, but you out here just like teaching the world, like, no, 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 that's not how we doing it. So the best advice, man, where I'm at right now is the quote that I'm living by is, my family gets the best of me and the world gets the rest of me. And so
Wow.
that's what I'm staying true to.
I love that, man. And obviously we'll have all your contact info and social media handles and stuff in the show notes, but just for the sake of you sharing with everybody, can you please tell people how they can get in touch and follow what
They,
you're doing and
you
support
can't
the
get in
movement?
touch with me, man. I have not been
That's
on
right.
social media since 2019. Taj, hey, if they hit you, you forward them, you know what I'm saying? You got my email, but right now, man, I'm privacy over popularity all day long. Like I'm straight up like, man, the home is most important. I teach, and I'm very selective in the gigs and engagements that I'm doing right now. And that's why, I'm teaching at school. I got a couple of other clients that I'm working with exclusively. And so you can't get a hold of me. You know what I mean? Maybe listen to this podcast again and again and again. So that's where we at right now.
Man, I respect it. With that being said, maybe we won't put the socials in the show notes. And if you want to get in touch with Thomas, reach out to me. And if you're not being too thirsty, I might pass you along, but no guarantees. All right. Man, with that being said, Thomas, thank you for coming on and sharing, man. Like I said at the beginning, this is a surreal moment for me to have it all come full circle and for me to have the pleasure of sitting here and interviewing you and just chopping it up with you in general, man. This means the world to me. I know this means the world to my audience and to the audience that on Author Spotlight as well, man. So thank you again for coming on and sharing. And we will be in touch, man. I appreciate you.
This has been big, man. I good luck to you on your book. Good luck to you on all of the endeavors that you have, man, because the people that give you their attention, they will not be sorry. Good luck to you, my man.
Right. Thank you. Also, before we get out of here, everybody tune in on February 20th. We're having an athlete to entrepreneur panel, and Thomas is actually kicking it off. He's opened it up for us. He's going to share his journey from going from being an athlete to an entrepreneur. So tap in with that on February 20th. And thank you all for tuning in. This has been another great episode of Author Spotlight and Thrive After Sports. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Yeah.